This gentleman, and he is a gentleman in the highest sense of the word. I'm so proud to call him my friend. Growing up in the inner city of East Cleveland, Ohio, right? Jamal was considered an at-risk youth. He faced a lot of challenges, a lot of stumbling blocks along the way. But as a creative kid, he knew he did not want to follow in the footsteps of those who had fallen into a lifestyle consumed of drugs and crime. Jamal received a Bachelor in Fine Arts from the University of Akron, staying right here in Ohio, gotta dig that. After which he began a career in the corporate world as a graphic designer for 9 years. Then he started working for the Boys and Girls Club of Cleveland as an art instructor, where he found that passion that he was lacking previously, right? He is being able to expose children who are living in single-parent homes or an environment of drugs, alcohol abuse, poverty, and most of all, education disparity to graphic design. You always hear of kids getting into high school and being asked, well, what do you want to do? Or exposing them to things. We need to get these kids in elementary school and middle school showing them some of these tech careers, right? Technological careers, so they know what's going on now. Jamal is a mentor and inspiration to not only his students, but to everyone he meets. He is a good, close friend of mine, and I couldn't be more honored to introduce the first speaker of Weapons of Mass Creation. Everybody put your hands together, make a loud noise for Mr. Jamal Collin.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Such a pleasure to be up here. I'm gonna stay up here all day. I got my parents. I'm gonna stay on task. I got my parents in here. I got my kids. I got my wife in the corner. I love everybody up here. So this is Germany, Austin. Me and Germany is from the same tribe. We both from East Cleveland. She's 8 years old. She's like one of my advanced graphic designers. What's so special about this little girl is that she's so young, and I feel like if they're old enough to push a button and click a mouse, they're old enough to design something. Unfortunately, me and Germany had to part ways because her mother was killed in cold blood one Sunday afternoon as they sat in the car. And she had to move with her grandparents. So it was like a tragedy that just had to happen, and it's kind of touched me to the core on what these kids go through. I can't even imagine having to go through that. So this leads to disproportionate disciplinary stuff that's going on with the kids. The part of discipline. I'm messing up, man. Yeah. So the thing is disproportionate disciplinary actions going on with the kids is that they're pushing them out of the room when they should be pulling them in. So the kids is acting up, they kicking them out of the classroom, they're not pulling them in. So this is what we're trying to do. Another problem with the youth is that the boys on testing, they're not reading up to their reading level. So this leads to disparity, this leads to, man, I'm freezing up here. So yeah, I don't really like this mic. Okay, so, I'm gonna move on. So this lack of disparity that's going on with the youth leads to me, going on with me, because I know I know what's going on with being in the system. So, starting off in East Cleveland, Ohio, I want to say that I had a nice, sheltered life. I mean, I had my parents involved with me the whole time. I had a peach tree in my yard. So I had a lovely childhood, and it wasn't really nothing I can complain about. I had stuff, so I'm going to sit up here and say that I didn't have stuff. But the problem is that when I was in the second grade, I was held back. So part of that, being held back, kind of threw me off. So I was always a creative kid. Being a creative kid, I fell in love with this stuff. It wasn't no internet, or we didn't have no cartoons. We had cartoons, but we didn't have like Marvel movies and all of that stuff. So this was part of my passion growing up. A part of me being held back was I was isolated, I was humiliated. The lady, Miss Newman, used to take me in the hallway and kind of shake me and violently and stuff. And yeah, Mom, that's what happened. I never really said that because I thought this was part of what was going on. You know what I'm saying? So it kind of left me like disconnected with the school, but I still was connected to this stuff, you know. So I was the thing was that my classmates knew that I had fell back. So this was going on with a lot of us was getting held back. But when I talked to people that I grew up with, they was held back like twice. So you gotta think about it. We getting held back before we even hit adolescence. And you know when you hit adolescence, you already gonna start goofing around because of, you know, puberty and all of that. So guys was taking a hit 2 years before we even started messing around and getting older and falling for girls and all of this type of stuff. So this made it, you know, that made us socially, I want to say socially impotent because we can't advance. So part of this stuff of what's going on, I'm kind of reverse engineering what's going on and taking it back to the school system because I think that that's important because they just prone to fail. So this failure, what's going on is leads to frustration. So this is kind of affected by everybody. So my goal here is to, I'm gonna move on. So my goal is to bring about change because like I was saying, like this is gonna be affected by everybody. So we need to reverse engineer and start pulling these guys back in. Okay, so this is me doing like a lemonade workshop with some youth. So I can tell a little quick story. I had a little guy, he wasn't as best dressed as the other kids when I was teaching in the inner city. And he used to cuss a lot, and I knew that he was dealing with some hunger issues. So one time I was in the lunchroom. At that time, I was just kind of sweeping up honey buns and all of this stuff. And I was sitting with one of my companions, and I was like, one of my co-workers, and I was like, you see that boy right there? I was like, that's little Jimmy. I said, he's my best student. He don't cuss, he don't act up, he don't do this. The co-workers looking at me like, him? Like, yeah. So what's funny is that I didn't see him for a long time, and then I came back to the location after a while, and some kid ran up to me, grabbing my leg, and he was pointing around saying, I'm his best student. So that's what I'm talking about pulling the kids in, the ones that you're pushing away. That makes sense, everybody? Heather got me up here so early, man. So this is about social change. So this is using graphic design through mentorship and promote entrepreneurship. I got some of my youth in here right now. We kind of talk about, you know, doing something right now. I want to go back to high school. So the problem with my high school was that there wasn't no after-school programs. It might have been, but I was kind of acting up. So I told y'all before when I was held back, so I had a bad taste in my mouth about the educational system. So that kind of led us to the street. So I was heavy into your graffiti. So y'all gotta keep in mind that I'm old. I'm 47. I was born in 1970. I'm a 70s baby. I wasn't going to talk about Reaganomics and the Black Panther movement and all of that stuff, but I don't want to give my mother a heart attack. I want to talk about my mother a little bit. She's like, you hanging out in buildings? Why are you talking? Like, okay, I go. All right, don't say no task. All right, so this is graffiti. So this is kind of where our interest was. You see what I'm saying? So it wasn't nobody in school coming down and talking about, we know you went to Marvel and Daredevil and all of this stuff. Let me show you how to draw these characters. So we had a vocational department, and it was doing advanced commercial arts. So what was cool is that they was doing airbrushing and all of this stuff. But the thing was with the commercial arts was that you needed to have good grades to get in there. So my grades was bad, of course, so I never went in there. I feel like, I know if I would have went to my mom and said, Mom, I really want to be in there, they would have got me in there. But I didn't say that. So I kind of feel like somebody from there should have came down to, to recruit us and bring us over there, So I had a friend, I got lucky, a friend of mine went to Ohio University and I visited the campus and it changed my life. So that was my exposure through him. Why is this up here? This is who we was looking up to when we grew up. We didn't have internet, CNN and all of this stuff. And my parents was kind of, they was busy working and stuff. So this is the guy who was telling me about, well, I don't know, maybe I was young, so my father probably didn't feel like he needed to tell me about, crack cocaine and all of this stuff and AIDS and all. I was getting that we was getting this information. This was our CNN right here. So, through my own determination, I went to Akron U. That's a big 94. I was lucky when I went to Akron U. It was like 91. They was like, we got this new thing called the internet. We got the first Photoshop, so I beta tested all of that stuff. So I know some guys right now still don't have internet. It's crazy. The problem, I had too much freedom at Akron. And you would think that since I went to, I was graduated and, I was from East Cleveland, I was kind of doing some wild stuff, but the wildness didn't happen until I got up on Akron U campus. But this is kind of, my style was getting better, and I had fell in love with small comic books, so I was kind of getting that look from that. So my skills was getting better, but at the same time, I think that the problem with Akron U was they gave me too much freedom and they didn't give me no real world application. I didn't know what I was heading towards going to corporate America with Tupac in my portfolio, so I had to redo my portfolio. I felt like the professor should have been like, this is, it's gonna be a dominantly white male design firm. Because I worked at PricewaterhouseCoopers. I was sentenced, lady, you was wrong. I was sentenced to 10 years in a cubicle. It was like I was doing a bid in there. They hated me, and I hated them. But you know what? What was cool about this era was that this was kind of jumping into HTML. This was jumping into Flash. This was jumping into. We was kind of. When I started out, I was, like I said, I was on the cutting edge of all this technology. So I was working on coding. I was working on web design and all of that stuff. My man Jamal is in here. You can with us to that. So we started out, I was working third shift before this at EDR Media, and I was doing 3D Max and DOS. Some of y'all don't even know, kids don't even know about DOS.
Yes, sir.
We got somebody know about DOS. So, the corporate life had me doing brochures, but let me tell you what happened with the corporate life, is that I was working with Pricewaterhouse and they merged with Coopers and Library, and I was PricewaterhouseCoopers. I was working in the BP Tower on the 27th floor. I was wearing a suit every day. I thought I was the man. It was like, we want to offer you a job. $20,000. I thought I was doing it. But it kind of stagnated my being an artist, being a designer and all that stuff. And I kind of talk about this with my man all the time, is that when I go back to some slides before with that Daredevil, we was just kind of doing it for the love. So I kind of lost that in the corporate world. But I was still doing designs and stuff when they wasn't, I was working on my web stuff. I was selling stuff on eBay, and I was running, I was shipping stuff out the back when they wasn't looking. And somebody was, the human resources told my manager, like, every time I go in his cubicle, he's on eBay. So, lost my train of thought. So when we merged with Coopers and Library, they came up with this cool branding system, okay? So this was a cookie cutter design way that you can put together proposals without even being a designer. So you can get grandma to come in and say, this is the brand guidelines, here's the fonts to use, here's the pictures, and you can have a portfolio that's done. Okay, so what that did was that kind of made my skills cheap. So they ended up outsourcing all the design work, and that left me unemployed. That left me back on the streets. So this is kind of what I talk about with the kids in the future that's going on now. The stuff is moving so fast that you gotta evolve and do a lot of stuff. So I was unemployed for 5 years. I couldn't find no work. You know, this was kind of around the time when the real estate bubble hit, back in 2006, I think. So it was cool because Obama was in office, so I got that nice unemployment. But you know, I don't know about now. So it was a rough time. So I really didn't know what to do. You know, I was kind of jumping around from job to job to job to job. So I had landed, like, I was doing some stuff for what was I working at? You know, 47. I was working at it was like a cable company. And I was making like 55K. I was like, okay, this is what's up. I wasn't even in there long enough to know where the bathroom was at. They was like, Mr. Collins, it's time for you to I had learned from Pricewaterhouse when I got laid off to travel light at the company, because there was a lady who worked there for years and they laid her off. She had Christmas trees and she was out on the street. They needed a U-Haul. I was like, I'm cleaning out my desk. They was like, Mr. Collins, it's time for you to go. I grabbed my laptop. Like, okay, that's it. I'm like, yeah. All your stuff copied. Like, I never kept nothing on the laptop. I worked for Time Warner Cable, and they was like, unfortunately, we're gonna have to let you go, so we're gonna have to take that cable away from you. I'm like, I never got the cable. They was like, I already travel light, man. So, skipping ahead. So I was unemployed. I was, you know, trying to freelance and stuff. It was kind of rough because I didn't have a retention on work. So that led me to with the Boys and Girls Club, which was crazy because I was over ratio. And I'm kind of outside my comfort zone too. I'm not no teacher, I'm a designer. So I'm outside my comfort zone. The second day I started work, somebody stole my car. So when I tell somebody this story, they stole my car, I would have quit. The thing is that this is before the graphic design program. This is before all it is. So if I would have quit, I wouldn't be standing in front of y'all. So the thing was that I was kind of barking instructions to them and they kind of wasn't engaging, so I ignored them. I came back from Weapons of Mass Creation, so pumped from Ink Wars, what Lady was talking about, I started practicing. I ignored them. Look at that pink puff. I used to be, it's all about image, so they need to see somebody like, you know, they handed me some orange t-shirts, and I'm coming in there looking like the president. This is one thing that I forgot to talk about, is that this is leading from the bottom, from the grassroots. You would think that a CEO is the leader, but you can lead from the bottom because it's engaging with the kids. So it's connecting with them, so anybody can do it. It's about that culture. So after the Boys and Girls Club, I see some consultants coming in doing specialized work. My background is doing designs and stuff. Go ahead and take the picture. I had to warm up, man. I was stumbling in front. I hope y'all erase that part. I was just like, what the freeze up here? Goodness grief. I talked to my man last night. He's like, you cool, you cool. I'm like, yeah, I got it, man. I do this all day. And got up here and was like, oh, what the hell? Because I'm about to run out of here and tell Lenny to start over again. Cool interest and triple this thing coming up here crazy, bro. Insane. So I started the graphic design program. They went with the idea. I resigned, came back in as a consultant, and the corporate was like, whoa, what? they kind of was like tripping a little bit. They made a clause after I did that, like anybody else that come in can't, they have to be here a year before they can do that. Because all the staff was like, we want to be consultants too. So I come in doing specialized work. I had like 3 computers. So this is me right here doing exposure week. So exposure week is me just sitting down with a bunch of kids and kind of telling them and showing them some stuff on the laptop. So I'm kind of telling them that they can win. You know, I know that they don't hear this all the time, so part of my mission is to save as many of them and give them a way of, you know, improving their life. You see, I don't really care. I don't really have no rules. I got a hoodie on. I teach with sunglasses on. I just do my thing. They like, you're teaching with sunglasses on? I really don't have no rules. You know what I'm saying? I just do what feels comfortable. So that's what y'all gotta do, like whatever it is. Like, that's the problem with corporate. Corporate having to structure and status quo, trying to work my way up the ladder, and I wanted to be a partner. I'm looking around, ain't no black partners at PricewaterhouseCoopers. What the hell was I thinking? So this is I do spring showcase. So they kind of showcase and highlight their work. I kind of bring in the parents. I'm looking on time because I want to be talking all day. Look at that. My man Marshall, his son. This is Creative Control Fest. This is us just being the superheroes for the youth to let them know that being a designer and having a beard, you can be cool. All right, so I'm moving on to entrepreneurship, the mindset and the actions of these guys. So I'm taking them on field trips. I'm gonna move quickly because I'm running out of time to talk too much. So we wrapped the van. This is just me engaging in them and bringing them in on that. I brought them the weapons. So ain't nobody, you know, I want to bring as many kids in on this as possible to let them know of these are the possibilities of doing this stuff. I took them to the Cavs and we sat and we did some brainstorming. We did a full-blown design initiative. We was around the round table and bringing them into the meets. They don't see this type of stuff. So it's kind of like really touching them and letting them understand. I got my man Marshall out there with the flat top. He got a haircut now. And DeAndre's, look at DeAndre's on that table, bro. When I saw this picture, I was like, he about to be a boss, bro. It's a boss pose, look at that. Like these guys got it, you know? I took them to Holland Software. Holland Software is a content management company. They do content management for the Browns, Cleveland State. So we kind of had a lunch and we went around the campus. It's kind of like as close as to Google you could get here. They got slab boards, they got daycare, they got barbershops in there. It's a nice spot. So just letting them, giving them that exposure. I put them on the news. And let them, I interview them, I you know, what I'm looking like. How long I got? 3 minutes, okay. So, smart creators, okay. So, smart creators is a term coined from Eric Smith. Eric Smith was involved with doing the hiring at Google. Okay, before Eric Smith, they had another term coined, knowledge workers, by Peter Drucker. Knowledge workers was just like a person who was just skilled at one thing. So the whole culture of Google is to be a smart creative. And a smart creative is 4 things. It's deep technical knowledge. It's being in business, having some business suave. It's having a creative flair. And it's a hands-on approach to getting stuff done. So this is the culture of Google that's switching, and this is why it's so amazing of the culture. So this is kind of what I was trying to bring on to them. I'm thinking if I can bring the same philosophies to Google and what Eric Smith was talking about to these youth, that they can connect and start doing some stuff now. I can't really see that, but this is some of their work that they was doing. This guy right here, I met him and he had some sketches and he showed me a book full of them. And I was like, you know, after sitting down with a month with him, he had digitized them and made his own comic book. So this is the power that they have. We're not trying to wait for college right now. We're trying to do it right now, because I tell them right now, if you got the internet, you got a company. So this is my man Derry. He did a poster and we took that poster to the cast and dropped it off. He got slushies, he got all kind of stuff. That's my man Derry. Did some more work. You know, they proud of it. Like, I'm the cool uncle, I bring them in. Cause y'all gotta think that this is after school. They've been in school all freaking day. Last thing they wanna do is hear Mr. Collin say, sit down and do some work. They don't want to do no work. The problem with them is that they consume too much, they're not producing anything. They got iPhones in their pocket and no videos on them. I'm like, what is y'all doing? All right, so this is me. I'm gonna move on to a little bit about what I've been doing lately is that I've turned myself into a personal brand. I do vlogging, I do designs, photography. I got young Hatem over there smiling at me. I got these young two photographers right here. So I'll be an example for them. So I push heavy on the social networks on, all of the stuff I'm doing. I'm vlogging, I'm doing video all day long. I work around the clock. I did not watch not one Cavs game. I work. I have to, because I'm an example for them. So, some of the videos gave me some national attention. I've been on the news, I've been in the paper. I don't know if y'all saw that, but it's just being, being a creative, man. And, like I said, I'm 6'5". They stand on my shoulders how tall they gonna be. So I'm gonna kind of wrap it up because I can keep going. How long is that? 30 seconds. So it's cool. I'm still upset. I was kind of stumbling when I first came. It's horrible, man. So yeah, it's just building that content. So I just got a lot of empathy for these guys, man, and I want to let them know that they can be up there, that they can win, and I let them know that I'm not going to just teach them and then that's it, like after you, it's like, oh, here's your degree, like, oh, good job, go. I want to bring them along with me, so I want to get them an exposure and let them know that they can do this. Now somebody's invented the next Snapchat, who that's going to be. I got my son up in here. What's up, man? What I need from you? Thank you, my man. I just feel like the designers and the creators should take a more responsible role, a role where they're impacting and giving back to the kids and back to the youth. I think a lot of us get into a mode where we're selling stuff and we want people to just buy from us, buy, instead of being a more involved role. So that's kind of the thing that I wanted to say. Thank you.